Okay, welcome everyone. This is the Flux Dev Meeting for August 14th, 2024.
Hey, so couple of announcements from me. Today we have the Kubernetes stable release 131.0, and there is also a control runtime beta release that upgrades the dependencies to Kubernetes 131. And I started upgrading Flux to this new version. We must use the control runtime beta release because, breaking changes in client Go and other API machinery in Kubernetes require this. My suggestion is to go ahead and upgrade everything to control runtime beta. If they do a GA release, we can bump it afterwards, but it's a lot of work. Control runtime is moving to approach with is basically a rewrite with Go generics, and a lot of things come with breaking changes. For example, they deleted the rate limit package, and now they are using implementation based on generics from API machinery and many other things. So this requires changes to all our controllers. We need to adopt the new interfaces and use the generic approach when we start and configure the reconcilers in every controller. The good news is that 131 is compatible with latest Helm, even if Helm is on 130. So they aren't using any functions and packages that have breaking changes. So we are not actually blocked. I'm not sure about cosine and other dependencies. We need to get to source controller to figure that out. But at this point, I spend the whole day upgrading Flux CD package. All the packages in there dealing with breaking changes and everything. There is a pull request open. I want to merge that. Then I have to do a release of all our packages. Then try source controller and see if there are any surprises there. After I'm done with source controller, I will need help to replicate the same changes in all other controllers. So yeah, that's about Kubernetes upgrade. I have also opened, next topic is the roadmap. So I have opened the pull request to update the roadmap, and I'll need your approval for that. I'm going to paste it in the chat. So the changes here are based on what we discussed 2 weeks ago. I have moved the image automation API promotion to the next milestone, and in the current release, the one scheduled in a couple of weeks, Flux 2.4, there is bucket GA, the proxy for OCI repository is the last pull request still open for by Matthew, and caching of tokens. I'm not sure if Sule will manage to get that implemented in. If not, we're going to remove it as well. Move it to the next milestone. So I would like to merge the roadmap as soon as possible so people know what we are going to ship next, and then I will create the prep issue and list there all the pull requests and all the things that we need to do for this release. My question is, Sunny and Matthew, do we have everything in bucket right now? Can I do the PR to upgrade bucket to GA, or we still have anything in flight? I've seen that all the proxy things have been merged.
Yeah. So also let me know if you can't hear my voice here because of the noise, then I'll type. But yeah, we merged all the three PRs for full proxy support for buckets. And we also merged AWS STS endpoint support for buckets. And we are about to merge OCI repository proxy support as well. I addressed Les Sunny's comments, and I think we're really close to merge it. And then I don't have any other open pull requests. And I think we can include LDAP STS endpoint support as well, because I have the change mostly implemented already in my computer. I just didn't push it anywhere and didn't open a PR, right? Because of what we discussed last meeting. But it's really close to be done as well. I just need to add the sts.cert secret ref, which we decided last meeting. That's the only thing missing in the change. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll wait for LDAP, STS LDAP, and only after that, after we merge that, we can do the API bump, right? Cool.
I think we can keep it on Flux 2.4, right?
Yeah, so if you manage to get LDAP in this week, and let's say we merge it Monday or something like that, then yes, STS everything that we've merged will be included in the in GA.
Yeah, just LDAP is missing. Like I have to open the pull request, but that's the only one missing. And the only open pull request is really about to merge, which is OCI repository process.
Awesome, thank you.
This week, are you planning for a Flux release next week?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm hoping to get, I hope for next week to release a source controller. But yeah, it all depends
like
on
in the end of the next week.
Yeah.
I think we can make it.
I don't think we can complete the review within this week, but next week, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so ideally we will merge it by 23. That's next Friday. And release source controller Monday on 26. But as I said, until I get to source controller and see that the Kubernetes upgrade is compatible with all the other dependencies which are on the previous version, nothing is sure, right? We can anytime get blocked by some dependency that's, if it uses a function, for example, there are changes in API machinery where they added context to some functions there. So the function signature has changed. If any of our dependencies are calling that function, we can't upgrade. We are stuck and we need to wait for that particular dependency to upgrade to their own release. Last time this happened with
that we will block the like launching a new version of source controller if we don't upgrade the packages.
Yeah, so our releases, our minor releases have to be in sync with Kubernetes minor releases. If we miss this kind of thing, then we are stuck for months. We can't upgrade anything because bumping Kubernetes is a major change and we can't do it in a patch version. So last time this happened, we got delayed for around 4 weeks. It was a breaking change in Kubernetes and we had to wait for Helm. But this time, Helm is no issue because the Helm test end-to-end tests in package are passing. So there is no problem there. But source controller has cosign, has other dependencies, which also depend on Kubernetes, right? So the major issue we have all the time is we use some library that imports Kubernetes, client Go, API machinery, whatever. Any breaking change in there can block the whole upgrade. And we don't want to fork our dependencies. I'm not going to fork Helm or customize or whatever, right? We'll wait for that. So control runtime must be always in sync with Kubernetes because there's always a breaking change. They use low-level APIs. Luckily, they did this beta release, so we are no longer blocked by it like last time. And today, they also upgraded to 1.31, has been merged in their main branch. So we know for sure then that from 1.31 release candidate 2 to the actual GA release, there are no issues, no breaking changes, no changes at all, basically. So that's why I'm moving forward with the beta of control runtime because there are no new things, nothing broke basically between the last release candidate and today's GA.
Cool. So I guess I'll drop. My flight is about to depart. Anything else I can
Have a nice flight.
answer here? Thank you. Is there any other subject that you guys would like an
No.
update from me?
No, that's it. Thank you very much. Nice to you.
Okay.
That was,
See you next
have
time.
a good flight. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Next topic.
Yeah.
So I was going through the Flux Dev artifact pull request, and I looked around the previous attempt. Sometime in 2023, somebody created another pull request attempting to implement the same thing, and they were using Go Diff by, I don't remember the name. Anyway, I looked into what that Go Diff package did, and it's not the format I think we want. The format we want when you do git diff, it's called the unified diff, where you see plus and minus instead of colored green and red that Go diff does. So unified diff is something GNU diff, and I think they introduced it and then others started using it. I think we need unified diff in whatever we are implementing now. I looked around a lot of forks of Go diff and similar packages, came across a lot of historical changes, whatever people did. And I found that upstream Go itself has a diff package. Internally, they were using it for Go plays, and they don't use it anymore, but it's just one file, it has some tests. I've created a Go playground snippet. If you open that and run that, at the top of the file, there are like two byte arrays showing like two different files of Terraform code, for example, file A and file B. And then I run diff. And if you run this, you would see the output in a unified diff format with similar to what git diff shows, plus minus. And that's what we need. I think using this would be better. I looked at the pull request, it was doing select check, and I was thinking if you do it in Windows, it will not work. And Windows has some WinDiff or FC or something. which has its own flags and ways of doing things.
Yeah, anyway, we don't want to shell exec. That's what I said last time. If there is
Right.
a way to get the something close to GitDiff, doesn't have to be perfect. Something close to it in terms of displaying the unified diff, as you call it. That will be awesome. And I also want to keep the semantic diff for YAMLs, which that pull request already has it. Okay. So will you ask that person to
I'll
replace it?
review and leave some comments about this. So should we copy this file? This is an internal file in upstream though.
Yeah, we did this for the tar
On that.
and also for SSH. For the known host, we had to copy some things from the some internal packages. Also, we did it for mutex based on files. So instead of using a system mutex, you use a file as a mutex. That's also all over the place in Go internals. Every time you do a Go mod update, everything, it uses the file as a mutex, which is fine, but they have no external packages for it. How we did it is, so basically you need to create a package in our package, preserve the header, add our own header to it, and say, okay, this is a one-on-one copy or not. This is not we changed these things. There is an example I can give it to you. So I'm not for adding this file into Flux 2 repo. If we decide to do and we have to do a fork of it because it's internal, we should do it in package.
We
I also
may
think
we may have need for some changes. So this is plain text, no coloring. If you want to add color, green color for plus plus plus, red color for Amazon, you have to do some small modification on the printf lines. So some of it.
Yeah, another option
And I think
is
we'll need a way to say no coloring. When you use in CI, you don't need colors. So we need a
you need
flag.
it. Depends. If you use GitHub Actions, it actually shows colors and it's quite nice.
Or Satco Jenkins, something.
Yeah, but if you use, I don't know, if Circle CI does it, most CIs have evolved and now they are parsing the output and they are doing the coloring. Some don't. So yeah, of course, you need some kind of flag to disable the coloring. Yeah, so my suggestion would be let's create a package with this in Flux package. And yeah, then comment on that pull request, hey, please replace the shell exec with our library. Or if that person has enabled us to make modification, we can do them, you can do it yourself. I think they
I saw that they were
commented
in vacation for 3 weeks.
Yeah, so that's
So there is more to this. So this is just a diff part. There's the other part where you walk the directories and pick up the files and then call the diff function. Where do we keep that code in Flux 2 or in this new package?
we have it in OCI, right? We can make that function public. So in the OCI client, we walk the whole directory to package and create a bundle. So maybe we don't need to do the thing again. We can just make the function public. I know. Let me give you the link to it.
There's a diff.code found it.
Okay. OCI.
How is it creating the diff?
No, so the diff
Oh, it just
in
says
client.
it's digest.
is pure based on digest. Is it's like a Boolean function, right? It's not for printing stuff.
Mm.
But wait a second. So we have this internal fs. No, the internal fs is for other things. It's in build.go where we scan the whole thing, including ignore path, because we have to do this also for the diff. Why? Because let's say you push a directory with all the files inside to the OCI repo, right? And you at the push function, push call in the command line, you can say ignore whatever files, right? Let's say star.markdown, ignore all markdown files, right? But then you do flux diff artifact local directory OCI. If we don't have support to ignore files when we build a diff, will always result in a difference because, right, when you push it, you said, I don't want markdowns, but then if you diff it and you don't have the same capacity of ignoring, that's really bad, right? And that's one of the things I also saw in the pull request. It doesn't deal with that because you shell exec to diff and that's it, right? But now if we use a Go diff, that we need to modify it. So it takes into account the ignore pattern. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of work, right?
It is. Like if you're targeting this for next release, I think no.
Yeah.
But you
other
can have
things
something. You
what
can have
other
something
things you
just
have?
working, but to get it exactly correct, it'll take time. What are the things I'm looking at? Just mostly reviewing and thinking about the CI things when they fail, like the Google Cloud thing. I have a solution I'll discuss after this topic regarding the source repository when provisioning fails. What do we do? There are a lot of other things I need to do. So are related to testing.
Yeah, okay. So let's leave this diff stuff after for the next version.
Oh, so the other thing about detecting a move. I think last week you were discussing about you need Git history to detect a move. I was thinking, what is there in this Git history that helps you detect a move? I don't think there is anything. So you have two file systems, old and new. You have one history. I think I have to verify and find out exactly what Git does. But if the content is exactly the same, file name changes, Git assumes that it's a move. And I think Git CLI doesn't see that as a move. It sees it as a delete, but GitHub sees it as a move, I think. I have to verify this.
Yeah, maybe it's a GitHub thing, but yeah, I'm not sure. We need to look it up.
We'll do some testing. Next topic. Wait, thinking if I have any other thoughts about the diff artifact. No, it's okay. Next one is I think last week we discussed about Google Cloud the cloud infrastructure that we provision in our test, they're failing. And I think we didn't discuss about the Google source repository that's left stale, that's not deleted. So that's been happening for almost 2 months, and we don't clean up the Google Cloud repository, but it doesn't even cost anything. So I made some modifications in Reaper. Reaper was not looking at Google Cloud's repository before. I made some changes in Reaper to look at the cloud repositories as well, to delete them. But cloud repository, source repository, they don't have a tagging mechanism or labeling. Reaper identifies things to delete based on labels. We add labels on sources to identify when they were created. We add a created at timestamp. And Reaper filters objects using that tag. But in case of this resource, we will source repository, they don't have such option. And I noticed that even Azure DevOps repository doesn't have such tags or labels options. And after thinking, what do we do? At least they have a description field. Initially, I was thinking maybe we can add a timestamp description, but Google doesn't have that. And I think the best we can do is, since they don't cost anything if they are running for more than 24 hours, we can just add a date in the name itself. And the Reaper runs every 24 hours. It will see that date is a day old and it will delete that. It's not required.
Oh, yeah. Great idea. Yeah. Yeah, we do this for GitHub as well. We use the Unix timestamp as a suffix. It's more about making them unique. But you can actually use that, right? You can parse the Unix timestamp, see, okay, it's 1 day old, wipe. Yeah, and we can do that for Azure as well, and not have in Azure description and in Google. Like we can use the timestamp in for all, let's say, Git sources that we are creating in all these clouds and have the same procedure. Now it all depends if they accept.
Number, they will accept numbers. It's okay.
Yeah, we can use some prefix, which is because I doubt you can name it solely as a number, but we can say flux minus.
It will be, there will be the randomized name would be the prefix, and then suffix would be the date, hyphen the date.
Yeah,
cool. Write the parser to parser file. So that's how I'll address that issue. And recently, it looks like tests have been passing in Flux 2. So fine, good.
But I think it will be an issue in the future, even if they don't cost anything. I bet there is a rate limit, a limit for the amount of repos you can have under an account. And we hit that limit some years ago when we did the KubeCon workshop in Copenhagen, I think. It was GKE and CloudSource, and we hit the limit in CloudSource because all the attendees were running under our account, and we no one could, at some point, no one could create repos anymore. So for sure there is a limit there, and it was, it's not documented anywhere. It was like, yeah, we had to find someone at KubeCon to unlock our account, but yeah. So we should definitely run the Reaper to clean the old ones if you can. Like I would run it now and delete everything, even if they don't have timestamps or whatever. Just do a wipe so we don't left them there forever, and the new ones will have timestamps and they will be garbage collected. But for now, let's run it without, like, everything that's under our account can be deleted. We don't store anything there, right? So it's just for testing.
Last week
Can
I
we-
ran it. Hmm?
Can we track other things? Like, I don't know, do we delete KMS? Can you see in the UI if we have other, besides the Git repos, do we have other things that are piling up? Clusters, no, because those costs and we would see them. But
KMS, we intentionally don't delete KMS, we reuse it. In case of Google, at least, yeah, Azure lets you delete them. I think. In case of Google, one name you use, you cannot reuse the same name again. So we decided to create one KMS with a specific name and reuse it again and again.
oh yeah, okay, the KMS instance is being reused. Now in there, every time we run the test, we create a new private key.
Mhm.
Do we delete the key? Or keys are piling up in KMS?
I think I checked last week. It was okay. It was not an issue.
Okay.
But we can
Because
look into that garbage collector.
there is also a limit, like how many private keys can you have? Probably there is a limit as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, other things, so GKE, oh, we also create repos, right, for every test in
Registry.
Google
Oh,
Artifactory.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do we delete those?
We use, there's a tool, what's the name of it? What's the old name of Google Registry? GCR, right? Google Container.
Yeah.
GCR, GC. There's a tool, GCR, GC. We use that to delete
Okay.
whole repository. We delete that. We filter them by tags. They accept tags. And we delete them to tags.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Other things?
LinkedIn?
Yeah, I just have a small PSA. Cozy Stack 0.11 is out. It doesn't have any Flux related updates as far as I'm aware, but there are a few neat things that will be helpful to me. Oh, there's one thing that's Flux related. There's a new GitOps reference architecture. So if you're not familiar with Cozy Stack, it's a platform for installing Kubernetes on bare metal or installing cloud services onto an existing Kubernetes cluster. So it's sort of a distro or base of Kubernetes for virtualized Kubernetes clusters with KubeVirt and other operators like databases and distributed storage and all sorts of things that you probably need to do yourself if you just install Kubernetes on bare metal. So the big fix for me is an ingress update that lets you use effectively cert manager on your virtualized clusters to provision, assume you have one public IP address and you have many clusters behind your root cluster. You want to be able to run cert manager on those backend clusters so they can manage their own certificates with Let's Encrypt. But most ingress controllers won't really handle that situation very well because you can only forward to a single backend. So if you have a front-end ingress that's listening on port 80 and 443, then anyone who hits port 443 will be okay because they'll be forwarded to port 443 on the back end. But anyone who had been hitting port 80 would probably get some kind of, you're trying to reach HTTPS service on a plain backend. So that would have been an error before. And I hit this error all the time when I was trying to provision clusters for demos. And there's a workaround for it now, so you can do that. And the other big update is Seaweed FS. So if you want an S3 storage on your cluster, it's there. That's pretty neat.
It's with Mini or what?
Seaweed FS is a different project. I've been looking at different ways to do S3. There's Minio operator, there's Garage, there's a lot of different, this one is Seaweed FS. I haven't tried it yet. I actually haven't tried 0.11 yet. It's only out for 2 days now, but I've been tracking it because the ingress change landed like two patch versions ago, but it wasn't available until this minor release. So for testing. And there's a new QBAPS. I haven't looked at the exact changes in there, but there is an upgrade to QBAPS, the UI that the dashboard UI component, that it has a new look and feel and some other changes.
Does it work with OCI repos, or they are still stuck on HTTP?
It uses an HTTP repo that's part of the installer. So the installer is it's a script runner and an HTTP server. So it hosts Legacy Helm repository with all of the chart platform charts and apps and extras are all versioned according to the Cozy Stack installer. So
Yeah, no, I was asking about QBAPS. Like QBAPS works with Flux, right? But it doesn't work with Flux. It doesn't support Flux OCI. Because so last time I talked to them, they were relying on the huge index YAML file, right? They were pulling the YAML file for the index, they were parsing it to display versions in the UI, to display everything. So they need to change all of that and do what we do in source control, right? Do a list tags, that's how you get the versions, instead of expecting always to have and because they use this index YAML, it's impossible to use Flux Helm OCI at all with the platform, right? Which is very bad, if you should ask me. Anyway.
well, the way the installer works and the way the platform distributes their components, it kind of makes sense to use a legacy Helm repository because there is a cap on the number of versions that can go in there, and it's locally hosted, so there's not really a bandwidth concern. There are a lot of good reasons the way that the platform is built the way it was. I really didn't like it when I first looked at it, but the more I've been experimenting with it, the more it makes sense to do it this way. Like you can do discovery with a legacy Helm repository, but you can't really do discovery without extra code with an OCI. And I think that's part of the decision-making calculus to do it this way. But
No, you can do discovery with OCI. You just import our Flux OCI client and you have a list you call list in Go. Instead of parsing huge YAMLs, you just call list in Go and it's there. It gives you, and it also orders them by Semver and so on. But yeah, anyway,
I'll look into it. Cool.
that's what it is. Okay, any more topics?
Last week, Steve, right? Steve was not here and he left 2 things to discuss. One of them is about Dependabot and Terraform provider repository. There is a Dependabot alert related to Docker dependency. I think he wanted to discuss what do we do about it.
Nothing. We are going to upgrade all the projects to Kubernetes 131, which brings all other dependencies to their latest version.
So Docker 25 will be in that. Okay. And then
it will be the latest version, not the one. So Dependabot saw a CV in Docker. It got the version wrong, the Semver. It tries to patches all our controllers to a version that doesn't actually fix the CV. I don't want to discuss it. Anyway, when we are going, after we release Flux version 2.4, and we are going to a Terraform release, once we are going to pull the dependency of Flux version 2, it will upgrade all the dependencies, including Docker, including Golang XNet, Golang XSys. There are so many CVs in there everywhere, and they'll get automatically fixed when we do the release.
And there is another point from Steve was there is a issue, Terraform provider 694. Did we close it or not? There has not been any activity. I don't think it's related to it's an issue in Terraform provider itself, but general discussion about the scenario, how to use it. 694 issue number.
Can you
In the last week's meeting notes, the first link from Steve, it's called this and the hyperlink this.
which number?
694.
You're on an iPad, right? So copy and paste. Go.
I cannot copy.
I put it in the chat.
Oh, the kubeconfig.
Mhm.
We are not going to solve this.
So I think he's asking, should we close this issue?
Yeah,
Nothing can be done.
I say yes, close it. This is a problem in the rancher provider, which doesn't persist the kubeconfig in the Terraform state. It writes it on disk. If you run it again in a different CI thing, the file is not there. So that's not something we can do.
Yep. Oh. Anything else?
No, I'm going to ping you on the Slack channel for reviewing. Stamping is not much of a review. It's stamping the dependency bump in package. I have to do more than one pull request. So the first pull request now that's open bumps everything and deals with all the breaking changes in all the packages. But I'm not releasing any package. I have to merge this. Then I have to do another 3 pull requests, right? I have to release first all the packages that are, let's say, APIs meta. Runtime depends on meta. So I have to do APIs meta release first, tag it, then open another pull request to bump meta in runtime, merge that, then tag runtime and so on. Right. So there will be like churn things, right? It takes like 3 pull requests to release everything in package. Then not tomorrow, after tomorrow, I will do the source controller one and see what I find in there. But just so you know, I'll ping you on the maintainers channel. That's it.
Okay. Close the meeting.
Yep.
All right.
See you. Bye bye.